Hi everyone. From my last video where I introduced my MG ZS 180, a couple of people seemed rather surprised that I'd managed to pick the car up for a mere £300. And I won't deny, that's a pretty cheap car however you cut it, never mind something that's fun to drive and got at least a bit of performance. Well, you're about to see one of the major reasons why it was so cheap, as we take a bit of a gander under the front end. Up ahead of the front axle line on the right side, there's some pretty big holes in the main structural box section, and coming around the back of the arch there's another hole and it's actually cracked right through where the two areas meet. Panning down underneath the corner of the footwell shows some nice holes in the leading edge, and all these problems are mirrored on the left side, which if anything is slightly worse.
I feel I need a tetanus shot just from looking at it.
Going to need to get better access to this little lot, so the plastic splash guards have to come off, starting with the front under tray. Pretty simple job, held on with fasteners along the leading edge, and of course these were a bit rusty as well. One of them was too bad for the socket to properly get a grip on, and if you encounter this annoyingly common scenario when working on cars, these Irwin bolt grip sockets are fantastic. They have a left-handed cutting profile inside the head and they really grab on to rusty and rounded bolt heads to get them undone. Normally you'd also have to remove the fittings inside each wheel arch, but these areas are just too rusty for there to be anything left, so it's pretty easy to get them completely free, and at that point it just pulls out. The arch liners also need to come out, just a case of finding all the fasteners holding them in and undoing these. Then they pretty much drop out. Lastly, the side skirts partially block access to the rust around the floor, so these need to come off. It's a relatively simple process. Firstly, the screws on the mounting tabs between the skirt and the underside of the body need to be removed along the whole length of the skirt. And then you can detach it from the mounts on the side of the car beneath the door. All that's needed for that is to get hold of the back end of the side skirt and give it a good tug towards the front of the car. This releases the locking effect of how it's mounted, and with a bit of wriggling it comes off. You can see here how the mounting tab fits into a keyhole shape in the skirt, which is what locks it in place. Unsurprisingly, it's a bit grubby in the hidden areas that are now revealed, so before starting the actual repair, I'm going to give everything a good soak with some detergent and use the pressure washer to clean things up. Then it's on to getting myself back to decent metal to weld to, so I know how big a repair panel each section needs. A lot of areas a wire wheel wasn't really cutting it, so I went a bit more aggressive with a sanding flap disc and the air sander for tighter corners as required. Now, I was struggling a bit to get the camera in situ while also getting in there to do welding, so you'll spare the sight of my slightly dodgy MIG work, but the process is nothing groundbreaking. Fresh metal is welded in where the old stuff's been cut out and ground back a bit along the weld, then smoothed over to seal any pinholes I've left in there. Give it a blow over some silver paint and call it a day. You'll notice I replicated the drain holes that are meant to go in some areas, just a case of drilling a hole and opening it up with a step drill to match the rubber bung. So there we have it, looking a bit more solid under there. Not going to win any beauty contests, but it does the job. One last thing to deal with is the mounting points for the under tray where it fits up inside the arch. Simple job, drill a hole in the appropriate place, and then we're going to use one of these, a riv nut. These are great little things, they let you add a female thread into sheet metal really easily. I'm using a hand rivet tool that can be adapted for riv nuts as well, so I choose the appropriate fitting for the size of riv nut I need and get it all set up. The riv nut threads onto the tool and you use it just like a normal pot rivet. You can see how it crushes the body of the riv nut to clamp down into the panel while leaving an undistorted usable thread down the centre which will accept a bolt. So into the hole it goes. Give it a squeeze to the former secure it, and then unthread the tool back out. Give it a test fit with a bolt, and we're done. Now, I'd like to give the car a fighting chance of not rusting out again quite so quickly, so I want to add some rust protection. To this end, I've used plastic sheeting to protect the majority of the paintwork from overspray, and I'm going to coat the car with Underseal and fill the hollow sections with cavity wax. First task, remove the rubber bungs to get access to those cavities later on. A trim panel tool or flat blade screwdriver does this easily enough. Stage 1 of the protection is Underseal or shuts. This comes in these standard cans, and you'll also need a cheap shuts gun like this. It's basically a fairly crude spray gun with a large nozzle, and it attaches directly to the can. It also comes with a flexible extension nozzle which we'll be needing later on for the cavity wax. Good shake of the can to make sure it's not clumped up inside and it gets fitted to the gun. Attach the airline and we're good to go. Just a couple of test sprays to make sure it's working how it should be and we can get started. One thing you'll notice is that the exhaust has been wrapped in plastic as well to avoid any overspray when doing the floor area. I'm only doing the front end of the car this pass. Once it's all done, I jacked up the rear end and treated that as well. The second stage of the rust protection is cavity wax. I'm using Waxoyl because I had a few tins of it in stock, but there's plenty of other brands out there. I'm decanting it into an empty Underseal tin so it fits onto the gun, though some brands of Underseal are also sold as being suitable for use as cavity wax anyway. This is where we need the flexible extension nozzle which screws in place of the Underseal spray nozzle. This will let us get deep into the hidden areas of the car's structure, but the real trick to it is it has a tip with holes around the outside that mean it sprays out sideways. If we use this plastic bottle to represent the hollow box sections of the car, you can see how it really does a good job of coating the entire inner surface in all directions, which is exactly what we want to make sure they're all protected under the car. So the theory is simple and it works exactly as you'd expect. Insert the extension hose through where the bungs were removed earlier and spray the cavity wax while drawing the extension in and out to get a good spray of wax across all the surfaces. Repeat that wherever there's a suitable access into an internal area and get all those hidden surfaces protected. What you often find is that cars rust from the inside out, thanks to trapped moisture and poor factory rust proof in these areas. So even a relatively quick and dirty job like I'm doing here should keep that rust at bay for a bit longer. And there we go. That looks a lot better than we started with, and should be a little more rust resistant. It's not the greatest job ever, but it's good enough for my purposes, and it gets the car back into a usable state. There's still more problems which I need to address, however, so if you want to see what else I have to deal with, please subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you again soon with another video.